leading to divergence in population with different mating preference. The species do not have specific characteristic not met by the female. Okay, so these are also causes of speciation. Polyploidy is the rapid mode of speciation, particularly in plants. Number of chromosomes are affected. That means this is due to error in meiosis, which results doubling of chromosome, leading to instant reproductive isolation. If chromosome number is getting changed, that leads to a spectacular speciation. Okay, so these things are coming under different factor analysis for the purpose of speciation. Now we'll discuss about tempo of evolution. What was written in your syllabus? The tempo of evolution means what is the manner, how evolution actually occurs. The tempo of evolution refers to the rate at which evolutionary changes occur over time. Okay, that means how species evolve, adapt, or become extinct. That is the rate of evolution or the rate at which evolutionary changes occur. So understanding the tempo of evolution provide insight into the pattern of evolutionary changes. At right side, you can see the pictures. Okay, the tempo of evolution pictures. There are different kinds of tempo of evolution. We are going to discuss about it in detail. So first of all, we'll discuss about different types of tempo of evolution. Tempo of evolution means how evolution occur, how adaptation, how change in environment, change in adaptation occur during course of time. Okay, so this is divided into two types. One is gradualism, another is punctuated equilibrium. Gradualism explains what? That explains slow and steady change or gradual accumulation of small genetic changes over a long period of time. Okay, that means that explains the evolution is a slow process and gradual process. That means small changes accumulated generation after generation. Before explaining this, I just want to explain another important thing. I just want to mark that thing. Evolution is always an assumption. There is no 100% true data. You cannot find 100% true data. All the findings, all the evidences are just the proof from which we can assume the thing. We can't say the particular time period, we can't say about the particular species structure, we can't say about the particular species characteristic. We can assume those from the certain evidences. We also don't know that the evidences are true or false, 100% true or false. Okay, so that's why evolution is always the assumption. So different theories are there for evolution. Here, different concepts are there for evolution. That means for tempo of evolution, basically two concepts are explained. One is gradualism concept, another is punctuated equilibrium concept. Gradualism concept explains what? Evolution is always a gradual process. That means small changes occur generation after generation. Small changes due to natural selection, small changes due to mutation, due to genetic drift, anything you can assume that occur generation after generation. Just look at this picture, the last picture here. The gradualism means mode of evolution. which gradual change over long period of time leads to species formation. Just look at this picture, the evolution of horse from Eohippus to Miohippus, Miohippus to Merychippus, Merychippus to Pliohippus, and Pliohippus to Equus. Recent time horse. The evolution in different aspect, evolution in their digits, evolution in their bone structure, evolution in their teeth, evolution in their intestinal properties, everything. They lead to formation of new species at a gradual mode. That means in different era, Eocene, Oligocene, Miocene, Pliocene, Paleocene, Pleistocene, and recent time. That means in different time period, gradual changes accumulated over one another, and that leads to change in the species characteristic, which is called as gradualism tempo of evolution. Okay, so this is one of the tempo of evolution. Now, second one is the punctuated equilibrium. That means period of rapid change in species are separated by period of little or no change. That means what is written here, just look at this thing. It was proposed by Niles Elder and Stephen Jay Gould. What it suggests, the species remain in a state of relative stasis for a long period, interrupted by short rapid burst of significant evolutionary changes. That means evolution occur in fits and starts rather than through constant gradual change. Some scientists they explain that evolution is a gradual change. Some scientists explain that evolution is not gradual change. Sudden evolution occur. That means during the generation movement, a particular generation shows sudden change. That is called as burst of changes. Okay, that leads to speciation events. So here we can see the examples of fossil record of mollusks and trilobites. They show long period of stability followed by rapid change in cell morphology. Just look at this picture. That means they originated from the same origin. For a long period of time, they show similar properties. But at a particular generation, this one, just look at this mark. From this generation, they show particular type of cell structure, differentiated type of cell structure. That means these up to this they are considered as single species, but from now they are considered as different species. That means at a particular generation the changes occur. That is the burst of change. But here, according to the scientist, the change is not at a particular generation. The change is accumulated in each generation. Okay, so both of the things contributed to the evolution. We do not know that which one is the 100% accurate thing because we got evidences for both of them. Okay, that's why both might be responsible for the process of evolution, but we have to study the two. This everything, both gradualism as well as punctuated equilibrium. So these are tree placing of this punctuated equilibrium. Okay, so here from one ancestor, these two things gradually changes, but here different substances product tree branches are more in case of punctuated, but in case of gradual, this is single change. So these are different types of tempo of evolution. Now we'll go for the factors influencing the tempo of evolution. That means either for gradual change or for punctuated equilibrium. These factors are responsible. So what are those factors particularly for which kind of evolution tempo? First one is the environmental change. Slow changes in environment like continental drift, climate change favor gradualism. Okay. If environmental dynamism is slow, then gradual changes. Organisms try to adapt this slow change and gradual change generation after generation deposited or accumulated that leads to formation of new species or speciation. If rapid change in environment, certain organic volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, that leads to what? Some more of the most of the organism they come under the mass extinction, but some of them try to survive themselves in this condition also. And how they survive themselves? By sudden changes in their properties. That is also another aspect of evolution, which is punctuated evolution. That means one evolution is slow evolution, another evolution is fast evolution, immediate evolution. Okay. Next is the genetic and developmental factors. If we are talking about rate of mutation, higher rate of mutation, accelerate evolution, yes, definitely. Developmental constraints are there. Changes in regular gene can lead to significant morphological changes quickly. If regular changes in gene occurs, then genes regulate the morphological characteristic. All the external characteristic are regulated by internal characteristic. That means the genetic characteristic. So if genetic characteristic is getting changed, then that leads to morphological changes. Okay. If we are talking about Cambrian explosion, this is continental drift, whatever written in the environmental changes. Okay. Correct. Continental drift means before Earth or different continents formed, the Earth landmass was one single landmass, which is called as Pangea. But when there is division of landmass due to Tethyocean, different type of continents are formed, and subsequently different modern world condition, different continents are developed. Okay, that leads to speciation. In this genetic development, Cambrian explosion, that means when there is no species in Precambrian period, but more number of species are found in Cambrian explosion due to this major genetic change. Population size is another important factor that undergo rapid evolutionary change. If population size is small, then genetic drift and bottleneck effects both attack. Genetic drift means particularly bottleneck effect, not the founder effect. Attack the population. Attack the population means influence the population, which is leading to accelerated evolution, fast evolution. Large population may exhibit more gradual evolution. If population is large, then genetic makeup changing will take a lot of time. That means that lead to gradual evolution. So in world, all the situations, all the conditions are found. That's why both the evolutionary concept, tempo of evolution, are followed. And the speciation event already we have discussed in previous class. Allopatric speciation and sympatric speciation may follow more gradual model due to continuous gene flow. So these are different factors influencing the tempo of evolution. Now these are the evidences in support of tempo of evolution. Okay. Fossil records, what explains gradual change, fossil sequences showing slow changes over time. Okay. Fossil means they are the representation of older taxa, older species. Their remainings actually represent the presence of those species in previous time. Punctuated changes, sudden appearance of new species without intermediate form. Just look at this picture. Here, the species fossils are found from this rock in this format. Whatever fossils are found, this is the modified or expanding diagrammatic presentation of those species. If we are talking about Cambrian boundary means that is the intermediate part between Precambrian, where no fossils are found. The rock was plain. One is Cambrian explosion. That means more fossils are found. Just look at this picture, different fossils, trilobites and different groups are there. Okay, so more fossils were present in Cambrian period. So what actually it explains? Gradual changes occurs when less number of fossils found from different layers of different layers of rock. But punctuated changes, what it explains, previous layer was no fossil, but present layer or after that what layer will come, they have new species without intermediate form. Okay, that is the explosion of species. That record shows that both kind of evolution occurred in the previous time. Molecular clock studies, all we know the molecular clock study, how mutation is compared, gradual divergence and rapid changes. Already in the first class we have discussed about it. Experimental evolution explains what? Microbiological experiments, particularly with the bacteria like E. coli, Escherichia coli, demonstrate both gradual adaptation and rapid shift in trait depending on environmental condition. Okay. Here, one example is given here. Just look at this. If we treat bacteria with a sudden change, chemical change, then some of the bacteria change their genetic ability and can survive in the changing environment. That leads to punctuated evolution. Here, one example is cited here. Just look at this graph. Here, the strains, bacterial strains or species, their number gradually decreases when change in environmental condition gradually accumulated. That means 20 degree, 22 degree, 24 degree, 26 degree, 28 degree, 30 degree, gradual change in temperature. Okay, that leads to fast death in population when fast change occurred, but 15 degree to 20 degrees leads to only 12 population out of the 30, but subsequently the population increase in course of time. That leads to what? The increased movement of this graph. That means gradual changes in environmental condition leads to gradual changes in evolutionary property. That is the part we have to write. Okay. So this thing all about different evidences that support tempo of evolutionary theory. Now, significance of this tempo, why we are studying this tempo of evolution? These are certain significance cited here. Understanding the tempo of evolution helps in different fields, different disciplines. What are those? The rate of species diversification we can easily understand. Organism, how it respond to the environmental stress, how it survived in different environmental conditions, that also we can assume. The nature of adaptive radiation means speciation and adaptation. When organism move to different environmental condition, whether the organism were survived in new environment or not survived, that also can be understood from this data. Okay. So many controversies also there along with that. What are those controversies? which model was predominant. That means two tempo of evolutions are there, and for two of these, more evidences are there. But which one is the actual cause for evolution, we don't know, because we don't know the actual age of the fossil. We don't know the actual time period. We can assume the time period, we can assume the age. Okay. And current views integrates what? Two models acknowledging that evolution can proceed at different tempos depending on various ecological and genetic factors. That means this is the current assumption that both of the causes in different circumstances are acting for the process of evolution. That is the thing we have to understand. Okay. So this is all about speciation and the tempo of evolution. The first part of last unit was covered. Am I audible to all?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I'm going to share the second slide. Just wait for 1 to 2 minutes. Now we'll discuss about systematics, the biological systematics. So first we'll have to understand what the biological systematic is. It is the branch of biology that deals with classification, identification, nomenclature, and evolutionary relationship of the organism. Okay. It integrates taxonomy, the science of classification. We are going to read about the taxonomy in next slide, with the study of evolutionary relationship to create a comprehensive system of organizing biological diversity. So systematic based on classification, identification, nomenclature, and evolutionary relationship. By analyzing all these properties, we can place an organism in a particular position. That is the thing, that is the systematic analysis. Okay. So why we are studying this systematics? Systematic is helpful in this way, whatever points cited here, understanding about biodiversity. Various kind of organisms are there. We cannot identify those organisms without the systematics. Various organisms are there for, and they are called as various, they have various common names. Okay, we can gather a common data about the species without the systematic analysis. That's why systematic is essential to know about the biodiversity on the earth. Okay, which is helpful, which will be helpful for us for the study of biodiversity. Okay, evolutionary relationship can be well understood by this thing. If systematic includes evolutionary relationship, if we have to place one organism, then we have to focus on its evolutionary relationship. From which organism it has more similarities, both morphological and genetical. That shows the ancestral group of the organism. That shows the branching of the tree in organismal life, which is called as tree of life. Okay, so that also can be well understood from this systematic study. Identification and nomenclature. The International Code for Zoological Nomenclature and International Code for Nomenclature for Large Algae, Fungi, and Plants is possible. Binomial nomenclature system is possible due to systematic analysis. Otherwise, we cannot give a common name, worldwide common name for the organism for the purpose of study. So for identification and nomenclature, it is very essential. Phylogeny and taxonomy, if we are considering the phylogeny and taxonomy, it is the fundamental to understanding the evolutionary history, which is called as phylogeny. Already we have discussed. And defining taxonomical group in which category it is placed is possible due to this analysis. For conservation effect also, this systematic inform the conservation effect by identifying species in need to protection and ensuring the preservation of genetic diversity. Okay, we can stop the extinction of species by providing them their partner, by providing them their actual habitat. Okay, everything. Application in other field, it is helpful in medicine, it is helpful in agriculture, ecology, everything. So these are the importance for which we are studying about the systematics in biology. So systematic based on the classification. And what are the theories of classification? We have to understand the theories of classification explains two or three factors. First one is the classical or Linnaean classification, which is called as phonetic classification. What actually phonetic classification explains? It was developed by Carlos Linnaeus, who emphasized on binomial nomenclature. Like tiger is called as Panthera tigris. It's a binomial nomenclature. Okay, which is the basis of modern taxonomy. So organisms are classified based on morphological similarities and differences, organized into hierarchical ranks. Okay, different hierarchical ranks from kingdom to phylum, phylum to class, class to order, order to family, family to genus, genus to species. Different systematic analysis is possible by observing their morphological activity, by observing their characteristic, by observing their feeding habits. Okay, so all these things actually are coming under classical or Linnaean classification. They unable to explaining about their molecular or internal factors. Whatever factors are seen outside, based on those factors, Linnaeus just developed binomial nomenclature. Okay, so what are the important features of this classification? It focuses on observable physical trait, not the internal trait, only the external morphological traits. It does not necessarily reflect evolutionary relationship. Okay, and useful for early classification but limited in explaining complex relationship between organisms. Nowadays we can understand which organism is coming from, we can assume more correctly, not 100%, may not be 100%, but more correctly, which organism evolution occurred from which organism. But at that time, that was not possible because this system of classification was unable to provide such kind of data. So this is all about Linnaean classification, which is based on observable characteristic, not internal characteristic. Okay. So this is different type. By observing different category, we can place in different family, in different genus, in different species. Okay. Then phylogenetic characteristic is the somehow most advanced version of characteristic we can assume, which was developed by Willie Henning, okay, in 20th century, mid 20th century. This classification explains about the evolutionary relationship. That means about the ancestral relationship, from which organism it is derived, from which organism it is formed. Okay. So they use the clades. Clades means the group of organism descendant from a common ancestor. These are the clades. If this is the common ancestor, these are the clades. This is the common ancestor, these are the clades. So they use the clades. That means from a particular ancestor, how organisms derived. Okay. Why they explain about the clades, why they analyze the clade to represent the evolutionary lineage. That means what was the characteristic feature of their ancestor and on which basis, on which factor, on which characteristic organisms separated from each other, from their ancestral group. Okay, that was clearly understood by phylogenetic classification, but that was not possible in classical or Linnaean classification method. So here certain key features are there which emphasize on monophyletic group. Okay, that means the group containing an ancestor and all its descendant. Polyphyletic group is the many ancestor, many descendants. Okay. So constructed using data from various sources, including morphology, genetic, molecular biology. All this data we can also collect the data, we can analyze the data for this phylogenetic classification. And after the classification, we can form the phylogenetic tree, the cladogram, which represent the evolutionary relationship among organisms. So these are certain analysis of Linnaean classification and phylogenetic classification. Linnaean classification just morphological or shared trait. Phylogenetic classification based on common ancestry. Okay. Another important classification is evolutionary classification, which is traditional evolutionary classification. That means phylogenetic classification also explain about evolutionary classification, but this evolutionary classification, particularly in traditional time, it emphasized on elements of both phenetic and phylogenetic characteristic. That means the classification depends on its external characteristic and its ancestral characteristic, from which organism it is derived and it is it has any similarities, external similarities or not. So considered both similarities in form and evolutionary relationship accounts for adaptive radiation and evolutionary trend, still uses hierarchical rank but give more weight to evolutionary innovations. So these factors are coming under evolutionary classification, which depends both evolutionary relationship as well as phenotypic, morphological relationship. Previously, two classification, Linnaean classification explained about the morphological relationship. Phylogenetic classification explain about the evolutionary relationship, but this evolutionary classification explains about both phylogenetic as well as morphological relationship along among the organisms. Then next one is very important part, which is objectives of biological classification. Okay, what are those objectives? First is organizing biological diversity, or to provide a structured framework for the study regarding the diversity or life form. Reflecting evolutionary relationship. From very discussion, we can ensure that evolutionary relationship can be well understood from these factors. If common ancestry condition, if common ancestry condition was known to or is known to us, we can explain about their clades. Okay, and it is useful for universal communication. That means to provide universal language for scientists worldwide. That means everyone can understand universally, enabling a clear, consistent communication about the species and their relations. If tiger is not considered as Panthera tigris worldwide, then in India, one name is there, in Africa, another name is there, in German, another name is there. We cannot gather a common data regarding a single species, though the species is same, but we cannot gather a common data regarding those species analysis. Okay. Predictive value, also another important objective. That means classification aid in predicting traits or behaviors of species, which based on their taxonomic group. Okay. It helps in making generalization about physiology, ecology, or potential uses. Facilitating scientific study. First, already we have discussed. It helps in organizing biological research by providing reference point for comparative study. It allows scientists to systematically name and compare species, aiding in the study of their evolutionary history, genetics, and interaction with the environment. Okay, so these are different objectives of this classification, biological classification. Okay, so now we are going to study about another aspect of this biological classification, that is taxonomical analysis. Just wait, I'm sharing taxonomical analysis. So now this is another important part, resemblance of this classification. Okay, the taxonomy and biodiversity. We all know that biodiversity, it explains about variation in life form on the earth surface. That means various kinds of lives are present on the earth surface. If we are not going to categorize those animals, those plants or life forms on earth, then it would be very difficult for us to get an idea about those species. It would be very difficult for us to get an information about those species. Okay, so for that, classification and taxonomical analysis is very important. Okay, there are very much branch of this taxonomy. There are various kinds of this biodiversity. We are going to study about this, and it is also very essential to study about their conservation, their origin, because nowadays we are witnessing in every country the people are witnessing about their extinction. People are witnessing their destruction, for which environment as well as other life forms are affected. To save those life forms, to save those destruction, we have to confront and we have to stop biodiversity loss. We have to conserve the biodiversity. Okay. So this thing we are going to discuss in this part. It's a very interesting chapter. One of my favorite chapter. Just look at this. It is taxonomy. First of all, we are going to talk about taxonomy. What taxonomy exactly explains us is the science of classifying things. Already biological classification explained about the classification format, but taxonomy explanation is keen explanation regarding this classification. How the organisms are actually placed in different groups. Groups are called as taxa. These are different taxa. Here, different groups or different taxa are represented here. The organisms are placed in different taxa. Okay. The word taxonomy comes from the Greek word taxis, which means arrangement or division. Nomos means law. That means certain laws are used to make this group, to make this taxa. Okay. How we place the organism in different format. That's why certain laws are imposed. Then what is biological taxonomy? It is in biology, taxonomy used to classify organisms into groups. Okay, like general taxonomy, biological taxonomy also classify the organism into groups. The groups are given the taxonomic rank, and groups of the same rank can be grouped into a higher rank. That means different rank are given to a particular species by observing its different characteristic or by studying its different characteristic. Okay, the most common ranks are domain, after that kingdom, kingdom to phylum, phylum to class, class to order, family, genus, and species. Okay, so these are different groups or taxa in which we can place different kinds of organisms. Almost all the kind of organisms are placed in different groups which were identified already. They are already placed in this group because they follow the law by which we can make the taxa, we can make the groups. Carlos Linnaeus was the first who considered as the founder of this modern taxonomy. He developed Linnaean system which uses particularly the binomial nomenclature to classify organisms based on their genus and species. Binomial nomenclature means generic name, scientific name, sorry, specific name. It is written in italic format. If not written in italic format, then underline must be given. The generic name starts from capital letter, specific name starts from small letter. I think everybody, all of you know about this binomial nomenclature. Okay. So these are different taxonomical positions followed by certain rules, followed by this binomial nomenclature system provided by Carlos Linnaeus. So this is all about the introductory idea regarding taxonomy. Now, what are the different kinds of taxonomy? So many taxonomies are there, but I have cited three most important taxonomy. Okay, alpha, beta, and gamma taxonomy. Actually, it is written here omega, that is gamma taxonomy, cytotaxonomy, chemotaxonomy, karyotaxonomy, Cytotaxonomy depends on the analysis of cytology. Chemotaxonomy depends upon the analysis of chemical substances. Karyotaxonomy depends upon the analysis of nucleus. So different kinds of taxonomy we can cite here, but these three are important taxonomy based on biodiversity analysis. That is alpha, beta, and gamma taxonomy. So what are those actually? Alpha taxonomy, it involves the discovery, description, and naming of species. These three things are very important. That means a new species is there, means that is the discovery of species. Where you find the species, that means the habitat of species, the body organization of species, what is the feeding habit of species, what is the reproductive manner, what is the circulative manner, everything. That is the description, and based on all these factors, we can name the species. That is the alpha taxonomy. Okay. So focus on identifying organisms and their basic features using morphology and anatomy. So this alpha taxonomy focused on morphological data as well as anatomical data, not beyond that. But when we are going to beta taxonomy, it is something different. What is the difference? It concerned with arranging species into a hierarchical system of classification, considering its evolutionary relationship, considering the clade analysis. Evolutionary relationship means the clade analysis. That means from which point the organism is getting separated. By that, we can categorize the group, the subgroups. Okay. In the previous part, here, just look at this order. Some organisms coming under this order also different are there. They are coming under different suborders. Okay. Subfamilies, subgenus, subspecies, everything is there. If we are talking about Corvus splendens, the crow, common crow, Corvus splendens in our case, it is Corvus splendens splendens. In Sri Lanka, it is Corvus splendens insolens. So these are subspecies of this kind category. That means more similarities are there, but in certain body coloration, they are different from each other. Okay. So these are the evolutionary relationship that coming under the beta taxonomy. This beta taxonomy focus on sorting and grouping species into higher taxonomic categories. Okay, that is genus, family. Now, the last one is the gamma taxonomy. The gamma taxonomy is more relevant taxonomical analysis because it focuses on molecular data. Molecular data analysis can give us a good result in comparison to other analysis. Okay. So here gamma taxonomy particularly deals with studying evolutionary process and intraspecific variation. Intraspecific variation means how one species varies from the species or from the organism of same species, same population group. Okay. Because all the organism of a population, whether they are coming under the same population, are not completely same. Their similarities are there, but not completely same. That's why it analyzes the micro level. It analyzes the molecular content of the organism, which can give us a particular idea, a more correct idea in comparison to other taxonomic analysis. So gamma taxonomy includes examination of phylogenetic relationship, that means the evolutionary relationship using genetic, molecular, or advanced morphological data. Okay. Minutely, the organisms were observed and analyzed to place in taxonomic group. So these are different types of taxonomy. Particularly, these three types of taxonomy are very important types of taxonomy, and this thing you have to Mention in your copy if question will come. Now, the diversity part is very essential part and associated with taxonomy. We can call it as taxonomic diversity. Taxonomic diversity means organismal diversity because taxonomy based on organismal distribution, organismal presence. Taxonomic diversity, it refers to variety of species within different taxonomic categories. If we are talking about different taxonomic group from species to kingdom, various kinds of species we are going to found. Okay, that analysis is the taxonomic diversity. So the distribution of species across taxonomic hierarchy, that is species, genus, family, the lowest order is species, the lowest group, the lowest taxa, highest taxa is kingdom, or we can say it as domain. So is there any diversity categories are there? Yes, the taxonomic diversities are categorized into this mainly four forms. First one is species diversity. That means at species level, we can see the variety of species within a particular region of ecosystem. That is also included in ecosystem diversity. That means in different ecosystem, different kinds of species are there. Variations in species. This taxonomic diversity means there are different levels of diversity. And on which level you can find the diversity. Here, one type of diversity, that is species diversity. It is found in different ecosystem, different types of species. It combines species richness. That means the number of species and evenness, abundance of distribution among the species. So after species diversity, the next category is genetic diversity. The genetic constituency of organism or the species are different, which lead the variation within species in terms of genetic material, which allows population to adapt to changing environment and contributes to speciation. Okay, this phylogenetic diversity, after that, it explains about the evolutionary relationship between species. That means on that grade also, species are differentiated from each other due to different evolutionary factors. Different types of species were right. Different types of species were formed. And functional diversity refers to the diversity of functional trait, which is including the feeding behavior or reproductive strategies. That means if there is reproductive isolation, that means certain factors are guiding this reproductive isolation, which factors leading to their diversity from another group. Okay, so these kinds are important taxonomic diversities. Just look at these interesting pictures. Here, this is the genetic diversity. All are from same group. Bananas are same, but just look at the colors of the bananas. Here, these differences in color due to different genetic properties of the same group. I have given example of crows. Crows in Sri Lanka, crows in India. Both are coming under the same crow group, but we can find the color variation. Our crow is completely black. Sri Lankan crow is not completely black. It is grayish black in color. That is the basic genetic variation shown in these two due to different habitats. Species diversity, different kind of species. Human species is different from animal species. Cat species is different from mango tree species. So different types of species are found in different area. Ecological diversity, that means in different ecosystem, different kinds of species are there. The species which are found in aquatic ecosystem cannot survive in the terrestrial ecosystem. Some organisms they can share both aquatic ecosystem as terrestrial ecosystem. They are categorized into different parts. So different categories are there. Different taxonomic categories are there due to different taxonomical diversity. And for analysis of those taxonomical diversity, we have to follow different rules. Okay. Now, how the organisms originated and what are the causes of their extinction? That is very important part because we all nowadays witness their extinction mode. Origin already was there. Due to origin, the organisms are present in present time. But extinction plays a vital role for their destruction. Okay, different causes are there. So we have to first understand what is origin and what is extinction. Origination explains the process by which new species evolved, typically through mechanism like speciation, genetic drift, natural selection, and environmental changes. That means in the primitive atmospheric condition, very less number of organisms were present because condition was not suitable. Condition was similar in all the parts of the earth where life was present. But when there was fragmentation, when there was differentiation, when there was isolation, they the organism moved to different places. They shared different habitats, and these kind of forces are acting or are acting on those population. Forces like speciation, genetic drift, natural selection, environmental changes. These things were actually responsible for organismal change. Adaptability to new environment helps in production of new species. That means diversified group of species were originated at that time due to different evolutionary processes. Okay, that is the definition for origin. Extinction explains what? The permanent loss of species. The death of species is not extinction. That means the oldest death is the truth and compulsory for all. But the death of the species, complete death of the whole group, that means the group unable to create its next group. If single organismal death occur, that is not the extinction. If death occurs at a massive rate and the whole organismal group of same kind eradicated, that leads to extinction. That means we'll never see this kind of species on the surface of earth. That is the definition for extinction. So extinction typically result from environmental challenges, competition, predation, and catastrophic event. That means any kind of asteroid, if they strike the earth, it was assumed that asteroid striking to earth was the major cause for dinosaur extinction from the surface of earth. So this kind of things. And nowadays, the more causing thing, the more efficient causing thing for this extinction is anthropogenic activities, human activities. Which kind of activities are there? We are going to read. So now We'll read about the rate of change in origination and extinction. What is the rate of change? Origination rate, it measured by number of new species that evolve over a specific time period. Here, one data is given from Precambrian to Cambrian, Cambrian to Ordovician, Ordovician to Silurian, Devonian, Carboniferous, Permian, Triassic, Jurassic, Cretaceous, Tertiary. These are different geological timescales on the Earth. And in different geological timescale, certain extinctions were there and certain originations were there. Origination means new species formation, evolution of new species. So what was the rate or how many number of new species are formed in different time period? That explains about the rate of origination. It is influenced by the factors like mutation. If mutation rate was more and all the mutations are successful mutation, helpful mutation, then that mutation leads to what? That mutation leads to evolution, origination of new species, reproductive isolation, environmental opportunities, everything is responsible for influencing this origination. Extinction explains what? It refers to the number of species that go extinct over a specific time period. That means like this, in all the time period, what kind of species extinction? We have already witnessed 5 mass extinction nowadays till date, and we are heading in the direction of sixth mass extinction. Mass extinction means major group of species extinct from the surface of Earth. That is mass extinction, what we have experienced till date. 5 mass extinctions in different time period. So how many species, how many types of species extinct in different, in particular time period? That is the rate of extinction. Okay. So these are different origination and extinction theory. Now, this is the cause of extinction. First of all, natural cause is in Cambrian period, in Cambrian extinction, in Silurian extinction, Ordovician extinction. No man-made extinctions were there because no man was present at that time. So that extinction was caused by the natural causes. Nature also responsible for the extinction of diversity. Not only the man, but nowadays man is playing a lot of or a major role in extinction. Okay. So what are the causes of nature that leads to extinction? First of all, the environmental changes. Environmental change include the climate change, sea level rise, volcanic activities, different flood, everything. They are responsible actually for the process of extinction. Biological factors like predation, disease, competition, habitat destruction, everything. If habitat destruction is due to climate change, if habitat destruction is due to flood or volcanic eruption, that is also another cause for extinction. So these are different categories of natural extinction that leads to destruction of species, extinction of species. And nowadays, the most dangerous cause, we can consider it as most dangerous cause, that is anthropogenic cause, because anthropogenic activities are majorly affect, majorly destroy the biodiversity nowadays. So these are the causes written here. First one is habitat destruction. For our need, for our greed fulfillment, we destroy the habitat day by day. Deforestation is the major event of habitat destruction for building roads, industries, houses, agricultural land. day by day we are increasing the destruction of forest, the tree destruction, the complete wiping out of tree. So many forest dwelling organisms. That means the organism which depend on forest for their habitat, they unable to survive. Without habitat, it is very difficult to survive for the organism. We cannot stay outside for a longer period without our home. That's why organism also in that same manner, organism also they unable to stay for a longer period of time due to habitat destruction, and this habitat destruction is tremendous due to human activities. Okay, then the second important factor is overexploitation. Just look at this picture. The human is trying to hunt different organisms. Okay, that is coming under overexploitation. When we are talking about fishing, how much fish actually we need for that day? We are not cutting that much amount of fish. We are catching a fish in large amount. Some fish also they become dead. They lose their diversity. They lose their species richness, evenness, everything. So these factors are actually responsible for their complete wiping out from the environment, from the ecosystem. Nowadays, pollution is taking a vital role. Pollution is everywhere. You can find pollution: soil pollution, water pollution, air pollution, sound pollution, weather pollution, every kind of pollution. All this pollution, where it happens, if we're talking about air pollution, air is essential not only for us, air is essential for all the living organisms, all the aerobic organisms. If polluted air is inhaling by the organism, if organism inhale the polluted air, that leads to destruction of the tissue cells, organismal destruction. Not only for animals, it is plants, microbes, everything. Destruction occurred due to this pollution. Soil is the habitat for more soil dwelling organisms. If soil is getting polluted due to different polluted water, due to different agricultural waste, then that also affect the soil diversity, soil flora and fauna, the soil diversity. Okay. Climate change, water pollution, we all know that polluted water harbors many organisms. If we are talking about ocean, if we are talking about river, many diversified group of organisms till date from the ocean, scientists unable to identify them. That means many diversified group of organisms are present, but destruction of those organisms from smaller group to larger group is due to water pollution nowadays. Climate change like global warming, day by day due to anthropogenic activity, greenhouse gases like chlorofluorocarbon, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, everything increasing. That leads to what? That leads to trap the more and more heat, radiant heat. Okay. Ocean acidification, another important cause for destruction of diversity. That means acid rains and all the products, all the uh, activities of human being leads to this ocean acidification, that leads to destruction of diversity, temperature change, acidification, change in pH of the medium, everything leads to organismal destruction. Invasive species disrupting ecosystem. That means in different area, different species are present. If invasion of species from one area to another area occurs, if we are talking about earthworm, nowadays the Indian earthworms, they lose their diversity. They lost their diversity. In many places, we are unable to get Indian earthworms. European earthworms are dominant group of earthworm in our land. That is one of the example of invasive species. Our ecosystem is maintained by our own indigenous species. But if another species dominates our species, that means that disrupt the ecosystem balance. These are many anthropogenic causes. The pictorial presentation is here, both the natural as well as anthropogenic causes. This is the cause of volcanic eruption, forest fire. This is the asteroid attack. For dinosaur destruction, it was considered as the most efficient, effective cause. Okay, flood, hunting, overexploitation, everything is actually the cause of extinction, the causes of extinction. Now, causes of differential rate of diversification. Ecological opportunity explains what? Access to new resources. That means why diversified group of organisms are formed. When they expose to new environment, they can promote rapid speciation. That means if we are talking about Darwin's finches, due to lack of food, if the finches migrate from the mainland to different land to less the load, to decrease the load of their own kind of species, and they get new environment, they adapt themselves in new environment, then speciation is there, and that leads to adaptive radiation. Okay, key innovations, the evolution of novel traits, flight adaptation in birds, flowers in plants, can open new ecological niche. Niche is the area in which organism get all its essential requirements for the survivability. It resembles the habitat. And in their ecological niche, in the new ecological niche, they promote diversification. Geographical isolation, yesterday we have already discussed about geographical isolation. The geographical isolation is the cause for physical barrier. Geographical isolation means particularly we indicate the physical barrier. The physical barrier that separate population can result in reproductive isolation, leading to speciation. Co-evolution means interaction between species such as predator-prey dynamics, plant-pollinator relationship can drive also diversification. Environmental stability may allow species to persist for longer period, but if fluctuation in environmental condition occur, that leads to extinction or rapid diversification of species. Okay, those species which unable to adapt themselves in changing or fluctuating environmental condition, they undergo extinction. If the species they adapt themselves with environmental condition, that leads to their diversification. So these are the causes of differential rate of diversification. That means these ecological innovations, geographical isolation, co-evolution, environmental stability, they are actually responsible for diversified, whatever taxonomic diversity we have discussed, that diversified group is created due to all these factors. Okay. Then this is the concluding part of particular this taxonomic diversity and conservation effect. So concluding part explains what? It explains about current status, their conservation and future outlook. Current status already I have mentioned that already we have experienced, we have witnessed 5 mass extinction. Now we are heading in the direction of sixth mass extinction. That means many scientists they believe that we are undergoing a human induced mass extinction because anthropogenic causes are destroying day by day many species. The habitat destruction, the species destruction, everything is caused due to anthropogenic events. Okay, that's why we are heading in the direction of sixth mass extinction. So the current status of biodiversity is it is declining at unprecedented rate, which was not found earlier. So in a faster rate, with many species on the brink of evolution. On the brink of extinction. That many species already extinct, become extinct, and many species are on the verge of extinction. That means within some days they might not be present on the surface of Earth. Then for that, conservation is very essential. Okay, conservation of biodiversity, the CBD is very essential for us, for the ecosystem to survive. So internationally, different protected areas, conservation laws, biodiversity action plans, aim to curb biodiversity loss, everything. We have Wildlife Protection Act 1972, like that, many different laws, acts are there to conserve the biodiversity. Here, just two examples how to conserve. So many models are cited here. Conservation of biodiversity mainly differentiated into two types, in situ and ex situ conservation. That means we have to protect the organism in their own habitat, which is in situ conservation. Division is national park, wildlife sanctuary, biosphere reservoir, scared groups. Okay. But ex situ conservation, we have to conserve, we have to protect those extinct species outside their environment, natural environment. If we are talking about zoological park, all we know about the Nandankanan Zoological Park, that is one of the example of ex situ conservation. Botanical garden meant for conservation of plant species. Gene bank, they preserve certain kind of gene, wild type of gene. Cryopreservation, human spawn, organismal spawn, animal spawn can be preserved by this cryopreservation method. So these are different kind of ex situ conservation. That means the conservation is not in its own habitat, not in its own body. It is outside the habitat, outside the body. Okay. But in situ, explain about the conservation within its habitat. Then future outlook. That means certain predictions are there. So these predictions suggest what? The continued diversity loss unless drastic conservation measures are taken. That's why different summits, different global meetings are organized at every month internationally to conserve the biodiversity. The future of biodiversity depends on addressing climate change, habitat preservation, and sustainable resource use. Advances in genetic technologies, rewilding effort, and restoration ecology. That means we have to restore the deforestation can be eradicated by afforestation. We have to restore the condition to restore biodiversity in certain regions. We have to check the loss of biodiversity. That is the future assumption. If we do not check the biodiversity from today, we are going to face a drastic, devastating condition change that might be the sixth mass extinction. That might be the cause for human destruction, complete human population destruction. Okay, so this all about current status and future aspect of biodiversity. Is it audible and visible to all?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we are going to discuss the last part of this chapter, of this paper also, that is human evolution. Just wait for 1 to 2 minutes. I'm sharing another slide. Is it visible?
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
It's
Yes, sir, it's visual.
So first of all, we'll discuss about human evolutionary history, how evolution happened from the primitive to recent form. The hominid origin, early hominins, out of Africa theory, Neanderthals, and Denisovans. Okay, so these things are important history analysis. I have just simplified those history in certain small points to explain, and just look at these points. How evolution of human happened. Okay, actually human evolution was not a very far distance evolution, it's a recent evolution. Okay, first it was considered that 15 million years ago, only 15 million years ago, so many other organisms, other phylums, other animals, they evolved thousand millions years ago and thousands millions years ago. But human evolution is very recent evolution. It is about 15 million years ago, and it starts from Dryopithecus. Okay, this is the first picture. This is a picture of Dryopithecus where I am just sliding my cursor here. This is the picture of Dryopithecus, not similar to the human being. Okay, this Dryopithecus was found on the Earth's surface around 15 million. Here 1.5 wrongly it is written, but it is actually 15 million years ago. Okay, this Dryopithecus, they give rise to next species level that is known as Ramapithecus. This is the picture of Ramapithecus. Okay, about 14 to 15 million years ago, Ramapithecus were found. They are primitive primates. They are not actually human being. They are and they do not resemble the human being, but due course of time, due to their different type of necessities due to habitat selection, they start evolution in different characteristic, and that evolution leads to formation of next level of organisms. Okay, next level of human related organisms. That is written here. The Dryopithecus and Ramapithecus, they are primitive primates, existed resembling modern gorillas and chimpanzees. That's why generally we are saying that we are, or chimpanzees are the ancestor of human being, because that Dryopithecus and Ramapithecus from which human originated resemble to present day gorillas and chimpanzees. And after that, about 3 to 4 million years ago, man-like primate, that means before that, no hominid characteristic. Hominid characteristic means erect movement, bipedal movement. All these are the hominid characteristic. No hominid characteristic was found. But around 3 to 4 million years ago, man-like primates roamed eastern Africa. Most of the fossils of early human being or hominid characteristic bearing organism were found in Africa, particularly East Africa. That's why here out of Africa theory is there. Okay. What explains about modern humans are believed to have originated in Africa about 2 lakh years ago. Okay. And after that, around 2 million years ago, Australopithecus, the last picture, this one, the Australopithecus. Just look at the difference. Why I have given these three pictures? This picture and this picture have more similarities, but this is completely different because this picture shows these two are showing tetrapodal movement, but this picture is showing bipedal movement, the hominid characteristic, most interesting hominid characteristic, human-like characteristic. Okay, that was known as Australopithecus. That Australopithecus inhabited East African grassland. Okay, and it has certain more brain power than the previous group of organism because they unable to use stone. But here, the organism, the hominid characteristic bearing Australopithecus, they use stone tools for hunting and primary consuming food. So during course of time, the evolution occurs and they just uh, make more changes in their behavior due to different habitat selection as well as different characteristic and different availability of nutrients. Homo habilis are the next group, the first human-like hominid. They emerged within a brain capacity. The organisms that do not have a lot of brain capacity, they are unable to think. But from this Homo habilis, the name scientific name was Homo habilis, they start thinking. They have some reasoning, they had some reasoning power, they had some brain capacity, that is 650 to 800 cubic centimeter, and probably not eating meat. Certain properties I have cited, not all the properties, because time is limited. We have to discuss about certain properties, and in a glance, I have cited these properties. Then, after Homo habilis, Homo erectus appeared around 1.5 million years ago with a large brain size about 900 cc. We have a brain size about 1400 cc nowadays, but that 1400 cc is due to gradual change in tempo of evolution. We have discussed about the gradual change and sudden change. Our brain development is not due to sudden change. Our brain development is due to gradual change because evolution, history, evolutionary evidences or evidences of these fossils, they explain about these things. Okay, the cc means the size of the brain. The fossil explains about the size of the brain. And these Homo erectus were meat eater at that time. Then Homo erectus gave rise to Neanderthalis. They lived near East and Central Asia. That means from Africa, they moved to other part of the world for reproduction, for protection, for the food. Okay, that is within 100 to 40,000 years ago. Okay, within brain size 1400 cc, they are almost similar to us. We are just developed. We have 1400 to 1600 cc brain capacity. Okay, so Neanderthals are similar to us. Then in Neanderthals, they give rise to Homo sapiens, modern human being, which are believed to originated in Africa and migrated across the continents. Nowadays, we got everywhere Homo sapiens. And the modern human being is not only Homo sapiens, it has trinomial nomenclature, that is Homo sapiens sapiens. Okay, they are believed to origin within 75,000 to 10,000 years ago. They knew about the prehistoric cave art which are emerged about 18,000 years ago, such as Bhimtekar rock shelter in Madhya Pradesh. That means it's an example. Agricultural activities practice began approximately 10,000 years ago, marking the start of human settlement. That means before that, no settlement was there. But after agricultural practices, it was believed that humans start society, forming society. Okay, so these are different human evolution history. After that, we have to discuss about the placing human on tree of life. Humans are placed in the class Mammalia, order primate. This is the classification, taxonomical analysis. Okay, and family hominid, genus Homo, species Sapiens. If we are talking about the kingdom, it is coming under kingdom Animalia. Okay. Great apes, the humans share a common ancestor with the other great apes, that is Pan, gorilla, Pongo. Okay. The split between human and chimpanzees occurred around 6 to 7 million years ago. Primate characteristics, that is opposable thumbs, which is helpful for holding, large brain, relative to body size, social structures, and forward-facing eyes are likely the key primate characteristics or traits that human exhibit. Phylogenetics analysis explains about molecular data, especially the mitochondrial DNA and nuclear genes, which have helped clarify human evolutionary relationship within the primates. On that basis, we can place the human being in different groups or taxa. Okay. And we can form the tree of life. This is the analysis of human genome, which was sequenced in 2003, revealing about 20,000 to 25,000 genes. About 1.5% of our DNA encodes protein, with the rest involved in the regulatory functions. Then genetic adaptations of human genetic includes Certain genes, that example is cited here, FOXP2 gene, which is linked to language, lactase persistence, dietary adaptation, and other gene that is SCL24A5, which is for skin pigmentation. So these are different genomic analysis of human being. Based on those genomic analysis, we can place human being and we can form the human tree, human life tree. Okay. So epigenetics is the recent research focus on how epigenetic changes or the heritable changes not involving changes to DNA sequence influence trait like behavior, cognition, means basing on this property, we can explain, we can categorize the organism, we can fix this organism in different groups, okay, without DNA sequence analysis. These are the current issues in human evolution. The fossil discoveries. You know that the fossils are the presentation of previous organismal data. The new human fossils have been discovered, leading to re-evaluation of human evolutionary pathways. The fossils raise questions about complexity of human evolution and the coexistence of multiple hominin species. That means we cannot say that particular this species is the ancestor of that one. Drypithecus, Ramapithecus, they have similarities, but this is the assumption of evolutionary scientists. We can place a fixed data by observing these assumptions. Hybridization is another issue that modern genomic research shows that ancient human interbred with Neanderthals and Denisovans, another species. Another species means that is the another race of human being. Okay, in the traditional form. This hybridization has implication for understanding human genetic diversity and disease susceptibility. So they assume what? They assume the evolution might have due to this factor, might have due to cross or hybridization between ancient and this modern Neanderthals that might lead to formation of new or the modern human species which is present nowadays. Okay, cultural evolution is another issue. Cultural evolution, which include use of tools, social learning, language, symbolic thought. Oh, why these are important? For shaping human behavior and continues to influence human societies. Climate and evolution over million years, they have been critical in shaping human evolution, influencing migration pattern, brain development. We just discussed in previous slide that brain development is gradual development over generations. Okay, an adaptation to different environment, technological advances also there in advances in ancient DNA analysis, radiometric dating, and paleoanthropology continue to provide new insight in human evolutionary history. Okay, so this is all about human evolution, its history, its phylogenetic analysis, and current issues in human evolution. Okay, with this, the chapter is over.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, any confusion within 2 to 3 minutes we can discuss? If any confusion, you can ask me.
Sir, good evening, sir. Hello, sir.
1 minute. I am unable to see who is asking actually the question.
Hello, sir.
Just a minute. Yes. Now tell me what's your doubt?
Sir, one human
Yes.
chromosome has only one DNA, or I have a little bit confusion about that. Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Your question
Hello.
is one chromosome.
Yes, sir. One human chromosome has how
One
many
human
DNA?
chromosome.
Has how many DNA?
Yes, one human chromosome contains one DNA molecule.
One chromosome has two strands.
Yes.
Whereas how the DNA has been placed in this chromosome. I think that there may be two, but what is the exact answer? I don't know. So that's why I'm asking about that. Hello, sir.
If we are discussing about the segments, that means you are asking about what I got from your question. You are asking about chromatids of DNA. Sorry,
Yes,
chromatids
sir.
of chromosome.
Yes, sir.
Yes. If that one is your question, actually this part not based on the part of evolution, but I am trying to answer your question.
Yes, sir.
One, if we are talking about one chromosome that leads one DNA. Okay. But
Okay,
when
sir.
we are talking about the chromatids means a single chromatid, generally considered as a chromosome, has one DNA. But if we are talking about the complete structure of chromosome or union of these two chromatid that contains double stranded DNA, or we can call it as two DNA molecules per chromosome. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Because each DNA molecule is a double helix. So two DNA molecules per chromosome. We can say it as your, I think this is your doubt.
Yes, sir. Can you speak out in Odia, sir?
Okay, again,
Can you speak in Odia, sir? Conversation
which
can be Odia language, sir.
Odia language?
Yes, sir.
I'm not getting actually, your sound is very slow. I'm not getting
I
you
want
properly.
to speak out in Odia, sir, and want to converse with you in Odia, sir.
You want to talk with me in Odia?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can ask me.
ସାର୍ ଯେତେବେଳେ କ୍ରୋମୋଜୋମ କଥା କୁହାଯାଉଛି ସେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ ଜାଣୁଛୁ ଯେ ହଁ ଡିଏନଏ ଗୋଟିଏ ଡିଏନଏ ଅଛି ମାତ୍ର ଯେତେବେଳେ କ୍ରୋମୋଜୋମ ଟା କ୍ରୋମାଟିଡ ଦୁଇଟା କ୍ରୋମାଟିଡ ନେଇକି ତିଆରି ହେଇଛି ବୋଲିକି ଆମେ କହୁଛୁ, ସେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ କଣ ସେଥିରୁ ଆସେସମେଣ୍ଟ ନବା ଯେ ସେଇଟା ଡିଏନଏ କଣ ତାର ଡବଲ
ଗୋଟେ
ଷ୍ଟାଣ୍ଡାର୍ଡ ଟା କଣ?
କ୍ରୋମୋଜୋମ
ଆଜ୍ଞା
ଦିଟା କ୍ରୋମାଟିଡ ରେ ତିଆରି।
ଆଜ୍ଞା
ଗୋଟେ କ୍ରୋମାଟିଡ ପାଖରେ ଗୋଟେ
ହଁ
ଡିଏନଏ ମଲିକ୍ୟୁଲ ଅଛି।
ଆଜ୍ଞା
ଗୋଟେ ଡିଏନଏ ମଲିକ୍ୟୁଲ ମାନେ ଗୋଟେ ଡବଲ ହେଲିକ୍ସ।
ୟେସ୍ ସାର୍।
ସୋ ଗୋଟେ କ୍ରୋମୋଜୋମ ରେ ଆମେ କହିପାରିବା ଦିଟା ଡିଏନଏ ମଲିକ୍ୟୁଲ ଅଛି।
ହଁ ସାର୍, ମୁଁ ସେଇଟା ବୁଝିବା ପାଇଁ ଚାହୁଁଥିଲି।
ଏବେ ବୁଝିଗଲା।
ଆଜ୍ଞା, ଦିଟା ମାନେ ଡିଏନଏ ମଲିକ୍ୟୁଲ ଯେତେବେଳେ କ୍ରୋମାଟିଡ ହବ ତାହେଲେ ଦିଟା
କ୍ରୋମାଟିଡ
ମଲିକ୍ୟୁଲ।
କନସେପ୍ଟ ଯେତେବେଳେ ନବା ଗୋଟେ କ୍ରୋମୋଜୋମ, ତମେ ଦିଟା ମଲିକ୍ୟୁଲ ଅଫ ଡିଏନଏ ବୋଲି କହିପାରିବା।
ହଁ 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 ୟେସ୍ ସାର୍, ସେଇଟା ମୁଁ ସାର୍
Thank you
କନଫ୍ୟୁଜ
for
ଥିଲି
your
ଦିଟା
question,
କହିଲ
but actually these questions are from molecular biology status. These are not from evolutionary point of status, but I
ହଁ ହଁ
think I cleared your doubt.
ୟେସ୍ ସାର୍, ୟେସ୍ ସାର୍, ଥ୍ୟାଙ୍କ ୟୁ ସାର୍, ଥ୍ୟାଙ୍କ ୟୁ ଭେରି ମଚ୍।
Okay, okay. Any other confusions? Okay, if not, there are no doubts. I'm going to wind up the meeting.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, another important fact is that I'm going to share these slides within 2 to 3 days. Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yes sir.
Again, thanks to all for your patience.